G'day guys, welcome on back. Now, I had big plans to be outside. I did. I was going to be out there, but unfortunately, there's a whole bunch of weather warnings. I don't know if they're actually warnings, but bad weather. There's lots and lots of wind. There's rain sporadically coming through. So I thought, let's just play it a little bit safe today and enjoy painting indoors in this environment rather than being out there, which is actually currently raining. So we had big plans, but change is part of art. So here we are. We're in a changed environment. I've got myself, I was literally just finishing it off, and sorry for being a minute late. Got myself a little coffee. Now the fun thing about this cup is, although it's leaking, I actually made it myself, which is really special. Good day to you, good sir. Welcome on in. Welcome on in. Now, I'm just going to show you quickly what we're going to be painting. And you'll have to excuse the way the light's hitting right now. Like I say, it's last minute. We're indoors. We'll be okay. We'll manage. It's raining. It's a whole thing. Oh, by golly gosh, that's good. And I can put my coffee right there on the shelf. Now, Birdie, absolutely love to make you... love to have you here straight away, by the way, right when we're getting started. Cheers, Jane. And hey, David, good morning. It's actually morning here too, 10 a.m., brunch time. Okay, here's the picture we're starting with. We've got two pictures today. We're going to do this one first, and if we have enough time, and if the vibe's catching us right, we're going to leap on to Scott. Long time no see. Welcome on in, you absolute champion. Been a while since we've talked. You need to touch base with me. How are you finding your work? Is it bringing everything to your life that it was when you first got it? And how are you both doing? Anyway, hello to both Scott and Craig. Yes, normally you live while I'm sleeping. Indeed, indeed. Well, this particular time, guys, we're doing this one here. Hey, Mark. Voila. This here, you're a champion, Scott. This one here is 700 Springs Ranch. So it's a massive, massive ranch. And to show it, I'm going to actually bring it up close and pan it. Here we go. So we can see some springs up here. A big body of water through the middle with these really, really cute, subtle reflections on it. And then the key thing to capture in this picture, I'm going to come right up close for this. There's a house here. We want to capture the house. There's a trail down from the house to the water. So we need to capture the trail, house and trail, and then the springs are very, very important. So although there's an entire picture here, beautiful nature, beautiful environment, etc., etc., these are the three key things that we cannot miss. We must have the house, we must have the trail, and we must have the springs. And if we achieve that, we're on the right track with this piece of work. But in amongst that, there's a couple of other things we need that just need to come with the ranch. That, cheers Birdie, that is the giant scale of it, the beauty of it, the greenness of it, the nature within it. Now, one thing that I notice immediately when I look at this isn't just the expanse of this giant flat space, it's also the nature of those trees. They have this rounding, this beauty in their they're creating shapes. They're not just blotches on the landscape. They're actually these beautiful rounded, if I show this one up here, because of the way the sun catches it, little balls almost, spheres on the landscape. So to capture that, I'm going to need to use a whole range of hues and tones to gradually build out a kaleidoscope of hues over those trees. Anyway, enough on that. We are good to go. Our surface is here. To kick off with, we're going to start with black. So I've got myself a small black and white picture to start with. That's the plan. That is the plan. All right. Got a little cut line of shadow, but don't worry. The black's going to be so strong that it won't really matter whatever we start with, because it'll just dominate the surface regardless. Here we go. All right. Blacks in first. There we go. Beautiful. And then I'm probably going to mix that on with, actually I'm going to crack this first. Just going to open up a few of these. Since we're inside today, a bit of ventilation won't go amiss. There we go. One more over here. There we are. Ha ha ha. Beautiful fresh air. Now let's get a sizable brush, and I think we'll start with some clear painting medium. Do I dare? I think I do dare. Let me bring back the comments here. There we go. All right. We are good to start. Thank you everyone who arrived straight away for being patient with me, because we are now on the cusp of being ready to go. Just going to get that in the right position. Okay. Blacks up first. Big brush. Big brush to kick off with. Guys, I'd love to apply the blacks, but I just need to get someone a fresh PlayStation controller. Hoity toity. Here we go. Alrighty tighty. We've had our first detour of the session. Back. Okay. Well, no time like the present. Blacks on first. Just thin them out just a wee bit more. Oh yes. So Birdie's a painter, guys, and painters notice this brush and go, what is that? This is a commercial brush. It's a rat tail brush. So get a look at this. It doesn't angle off to one side, it angles off in the middle, which means instead of having to taper ever when I'm painting, I literally just lift my hand up and it goes to a further point. Have you given the new baby her first art lesson yet? Yes. No, I have not. No, I have not. But the day is fast approaching. The day is fast approaching. I'm not sure when the moment comes in where you actually... I understand that babies actually, when they're first born, can't see colour. Is that correct? I forget. I should know these things. My understandings of babies and art can be somewhat limited. Can be. Might pay to cover the window a little bit, Trina. I think while we're using the blacks, we should be all right. Bit of fun with the angle of the with the light on it. But as the sun comes up, it'll change everything. I'll tell you what though, we'll give it a little go. Wonder if I move this stuff around a little bit, just for you, Trina. Just for you. Oh, it feels so dark now. How does that feel, team? Do you feel better? If you feel better, we'll keep it. How do we feel? Is that a huge improvement? Yes, light? Perfect. All right. As long as we're on the right track, that's the win. There we go. Bring that out a wee bit there. Perfecto. You're all good there. Perfect. Righty-tighty. Can see better. Well, that's an improvement then. I want you to be able to see, Trina. That's an important feature. Art's a fairly visual thing, and if you can see it, we're on the right track. Okay. Speaking of art, though, I'm supposed to be painting. So let's continue. Now, first up is a whole lot of black. First colour, over the lines. So the joy of when you start a picture like this It's less about making sure you nail every single stroke and build it out, and more about just having some fun. Big gestural strokes at the start. It'll come together. Black just needs to find its home in the picture first. There we go, lovely. All the way down to the bottom, all the way up through it. And it makes this beautiful little horizon line. Part of the fun in this picture too is going to be that beautiful white sky up there. Deep blue sky. So, already, if you were reading into gestural strokes, you could say that there is a body of water coming through the middle, a bit of perspective forming, but you'd be getting over eager, guys. That's not what we're looking for right at the start. We're just looking for some wild strokes to start to create the overall picture. And making sure the black spreads out enough that actually when we come on back with more colours and tones, we haven't undercooked it, haven't gone far enough. It's always good in those early layers to go too far. A lot of the time we don't go far enough in the early layers. Because of that, we try and go further or overextend the later layers. We ruin a work. You overpaint it. Go too far early, and if you go too far early, you can always chill it out later on. That's a good thing. Ooh, that's exciting. Alrighty, tighty. Hey, also, in traditional me fashion, I went and watched Bada Ba Bing Kung Fu Panda 2. Really like it, guys. One of the things they were touting in it was, Kung Fu Panda was touting was inner peace. And how even though the tragedy that befalls the panda, he's still the one who's able to find inner peace. And that's sort of beautiful, because we always kind of feel like after a certain amount of tragedy, you'd be unable to find peace. You'd be forever broken, or sometimes we feel like that could be the narrative. But Kung Fu Panda kind of flies in the narrative of that and says, hey, you can still find peace no matter what's happened to you. So that's pretty exciting. Ah, yes, Black Bunny. So, not from this piece of artwork, but these pair of pants, they've got paint on them. The shirt should be pretty clean. And who's that there? Hey, Petrus, how you doing? How are you doing? All right, let's get the black off this brush. So, basically black's everywhere, except for the areas that are pristine white. There we go. As Bob Ross would say, beat the devil out of it. Here we go. I want to get pristine. Just want blue next, team. Just want blue. Here we go. Okay, now, the question is ultramarine or cerulean? Or should we just splice them both? Is that too naughty? Probably is, but we'll do it anyway. Oh. Now we'll go one to the next. One to the next, guys. You got two. You've given me too many ideas. So ultramarine. Now, ultramarine as a color. Steve, hello, you absolute champion. Welcome on in. Steve, this is an American picture. This is 700 Springs Ranch. Right now, it's just a mess, but it will be 700 Springs Ranch. Now, I was going to say, before I lost my trail of thought, who knows my yarn on ultramarine? Who's heard this yarn? So ultramarine means beyond sea, because it was such a beautiful color. They actually found a rock, like a jewel rock. I think it was a rock that they actually ground up into a powder to make the colour. And it was such a beautiful blue that in the time they named it Beyond Sea in Latin, ultramarine. And it was worth the pigment powder, worth its weight in gold, which is it just shows how incredibly rare and valuable these pigments were. Imagine spending gold for paint. Artists today, us, I can't imagine that. I'm used to, and you can see it in my style, paint abundance, which means that I just get any color I want and throw it on the canvas. That wasn't an opportunity for 99% of artists throughout history. So, although sometimes as artists we like to work with muted tones, I feel we do a disservice to the entire story of art when finally, in this century, we unlock the ability of every colour and would have the audacity not to pursue every colour. Can I explain everything to you? Of course I can. I can tell you one thing. I don't remember the origins of cerulean blue. I know ultramarine really intimately. I know ultramarine really well because that colour is one of my personal favourites. But cerulean blue doesn't sit as well with me. I forget that. Yeah, Birdie, there's a book. You're an artist. You'd love it. It's called Secret Lives of Colour. And what they yarn about in the book is she talks about the different storylines of each colour, because not every colour was available the entire time throughout human history. Some colours were popular, some colours fell out of popularity, some colours, and it's funny to say, hadn't been invented yet. Yes, they existed, but to be available, to be purchased and painted with, that's our definition in this case of invented. And a lot of those colours hadn't been, not in the slightest. And so when we say the invention of different colours, like ultramarine blue wasn't available, only to the most rich of people, and the rich purples, I'm pretty sure for blues and purples, I forget where and when, but they had to pay deposits. Royals would pay artists deposits before they'd actually paint with these colours, because they were so expensive the artists couldn't afford to procure them before the royal had paid for their portrait. Do you know how nerve-wracking that is? You cannot mess up a layer for a royal and be like, look, I know we paid the price of a small fortune to get these colours, but I messed up on layer 2 and I kind of want to redo this bit. Good luck with that. No way. You were not allowed to make mistakes. Not in those days. And now, ironically, those mistakes would be terrifying, almost like the end of the world for some artists, and now we embellish them. We love them so much. Bob Ross is sitting there saying, happy little mistakes. I'm sitting here saying the more mistakes you make, the better the result's going to be. Like, oh, how the world shifts. The irony behind that. Like, even in the French Impressionist era, you know, well back in the day, they were still coming to with the idea that, hey, we could make little mistakes and the artwork will get this endearing quality from it. You know, you don't just come out of the Renaissance period and just suddenly think, oh, well, let's be wild with our art. You slowly, tentatively go out into the waters. Now we're in the Wild West, but they broke into that slowly over hundreds of years. We didn't just suddenly end up in the Wild West. Honestly, when we talk about the Wild West, the culmination of it, when we entered, like, not the peak, but when we realised the floodgates were open, in my opinion, was Andy Warhol. The moment Campbell's soup cans started ending up in galleries and the art critics got upset about it, that's the moment we were in the Wild West, in my vision of art history. But, like, look, there's a million different ways to argue that. Literally mistakes is how I passed my university course. Well, you can always get 25% in a 4-way multi-choice. Okay. And I'll dance, dance, dance with my hands, hands, hands above my head, head, head. Did I miss anyone's comments back there as well? Jay Smith, welcome on in, you absolute champion. Guys, for those who don't know, I normally just say hello, but Jay Smith's our moderator. So if anyone says anything mean, Jay's going to be like, hey, don't be mean. And Jay's been here for a long time on the stream, helping me out and making this environment friendly and inclusive. And the coolest thing is, guys, I will say this, TikTok has always been a space. I was talking to someone about it, a friend the other day, day before yesterday. TikTok's always been a place where I've gone live on lots of platforms, guys. I've done Reddit, I've done Instagram, I've done Twitch. I've been all over the show, but TikTok's the one where I've always felt that everyone who arrives in the stream is there for a good time or is there for the right reasons. And I always feel like we connect and improve, lives, a little shot of coffee in the morning through TikTok better than any other platform. I don't know why that is. I'm not going to try and surmise why that would be. Perhaps, then he goes on to surmise, perhaps it's the robot, but I feel like everyone who I've connected with, who I've formed a proper connection with, whether it be collector, whether it be fan, whether it be community, through TikTok, it's a powerful connection. The right people are finding each other. If you view a live performance like speed dating, I feel like I get put in front of really nice partners. Oh look, Charles, okay, this is important. How could anyone say anything mean about you? Okay, this is really important. If no one's saying anything mean about you, you're probably very bland. And you're probably, when all mean comments stop, that's when you have to look at yourself and think, have I become bland? And, no one minds bread all that much. It can go on everything. Bread, 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 bread. But my art's so wild and reckless that if my art becomes conservative, it loses all its flavor. It'd be like whiskey without bite. My art, if it wasn't polarizing audiences such that when I say polarizing, I don't mean like, intentionally or, love-hate, but some people to say, I really connect with that, and other people to say, ugh. If it wasn't doing that, it'd be very similar to those new bottles of spirits that you see around the place. The ones that say 0 alcohol gin, and you try it and you're like, it tastes botanical, but it's not gin. That's what my art would be to the art world if suddenly people weren't falling in love with it and disliking what they saw. Because when it comes to art, actually knowing what you don't like helps you better understand what you do like. You don't want, for example, a country music fan doesn't just want the whole world to be covered in country music. They want every other genre to exist so that they can fall in their pocket of country. Just like jazz needs every other type of music to exist to really become its own little pocket of jazz. Coming back up. Sorry, I missed one up there. Oh my God, I got caught up in my own little yarn and I missed it. A comment there by, oh no, Jay, don't mute Jim. Jim's an old school fan. You can't do that, Jay. Please let him back in. Sorry, Jim. I was trying to read your comment there, but I just missed it. No, rewind, Jay, rewind. Jim's a legend. Jim's been around since day dot. Jim's actually a collector as well. Sorry, Jim. So Jim, back in the day, last year, Jim liked the song Kill Bill. And so we did a reel painting Jim's portrait to the tune of Kill Bill. And it was really fun. To this day, still, cheeky fun portrait. Big fan. Big fan. I was looking at it the other day, Jim, actually, because I've got a high resolution copy of it. And I was like, that is a cheeky portrait. It is a cheeky portrait. You are all good, Jay. It's actually good, Jay. You're keeping Jim on his toes. I haven't heard that word for years, must be Irish. I forget what the word was. And you make me want to pick up a brush and start painting again. Well, 100%. If this messy, wild little layer could encourage you to pick up a brush and start painting again, then absolutely pick up a brush and start painting again, because I'm going to do the same generic thing. I say this all the time, guys. I'm going to say it again. Painting, and like the regulars like, oh, this yarn again. Painting is like dancing. Painting is like singing. Painting is like poetry. Painting is like, what's something mundane? Watching a movie. Actually, movies are an art form. And so by watching a movie, you are taking part in the arts. We forget that when we watch a Marvel movie, but we are. And so the reason I say that is painting is a form of art, like dancing, poetry, watching movies and singing. Everyone should partake in it. And the world suddenly came out and gatekeeped art on us and told us that actually, no, unless you're an artist, you shouldn't make art. Well, that's a weird sentiment, because then, if only artists should make art, how does an artist come into existence in the first place? And if we just believe suddenly that artists are dropped off by pelicans to actually exist in the world, madness, then the next question I'd ask is, how do we define an artist? Is there some kind of, do we say that an art degree is the only way to be an artist? Well, if that was the case, then there's a lot of very, very famous self-taught artists who are no longer defined as artists. So that doesn't quite work. So there's no universal description of what makes an artist. And yet we're supposed to all accept what an artist is. And usually the person who then defines it is a gallery, an art curator. They'll say who an artist is and who we should buy. Just like a fashion influencer would tell us what real fashion is and tell us what to put on our bodies. Like, the outrageousness of it, guys. Art is taste. Art is a relationship to an inanimate object or a 2D surface that you put inside your home. And no one should tell you who you should date, how you should date them, and what that relationship should look like. They could offer constructive feedback, but your taste in art is very similar to the way you love, the way you form your relationships, and the way you form your tastes in dress. You don't need someone else's opinion to tell you how to do that. You need to develop your own taste, and that may land wherever it chooses to land. But there's an awful amount of gatekeeping when it comes to the world of art that makes artists and collectors and just enjoyers of a community of art feel like they shouldn't or couldn't be welcomed into it, or maybe lack some ability to understand it or appreciate it as much as someone else who touts that they can. And through that, if you believe in that environment, what comes next? A huge amount of imposter syndrome to anyone who actually does start developing their taste, who feels like, maybe I don't belong here, maybe I need to be this, maybe I need to be that. It was the biggest tragedy that art ever caused when it became something that wasn't the most inclusive thing it could possibly be. No one feels like certain people should listen to certain kinds of music. No one feels like you can't listen to certain kinds of music. You can't do this, you can't do that. Spotify's open for everyone. And yet with art, we feel like, we're led to feel like there is art that we would appreciate less than someone else. Like, what an outrageous premise. Do you really think music, like, sometimes jazz gets on that buzz, but for most music, do you really think someone else can appreciate it more than you do or feel more from it? If you really believe that someone can look at art and feel more than you do, then I need you to check yourself and actually show more respect for who you are and your own emotions, because you don't need someone else in this world to tell you how to feel. You don't need anyone else anywhere to tell you how to feel good. Honestly. The very fact that I could voice that sentence is astounding. What's that? Jazz, country, punk, honestly, any subcultures. I love punk. If you haven't heard that recent song by Blink-182, I forget the name of it, absolute banger. The one about One More Time. For those who used to dance to punk rock when they were in high school and primary school and Blink-182 was all the rage, going back to something like One More Time is such a moving song because it wraps up an era. Does it wrap it up? Sums up an era, and it sums it up with love, not sadness or anything else. Just love, connection. And that's actually, although punk rock was chaos, Sum 41, Blink-182, Green Day, Good Charlotte, you know, it was chaotic. It was like, what's going on here? But actually, the overall message was we're trying to connect, and it was love. I didn't do it because I wanted chaos. I did it because everyone liked the music, and I felt like a part of something, and I liked bobbing my head. And I liked screaming out lyrics. I didn't fully understand, but it was kind of fun to do. Don't know where that trail of thought was going, but I love some Green Day. Yeah, I love, I used to love Boulevard of Broken Dreams. Green Day was the first, when he's holding that black and red cover, and it's a hand holding a grenade. That was the first CD I ever owned. That one and the 2000, one of the other ones I owned was the Ricky Martin one. I didn't own it, my mum gave it to me. But it was Ricky Martin on the cover with short hair, early 2000s, I forget. And then I fell in love with La Vida Vila Loca, whatever the song is called, when it got sung in Shrek. And Eddie Murphy kicks off with Puss in Donkey, y'all. That's when that song really hit a high for me. Because I really liked Donkey. I thought Donkey was a champion. I liked Donkey's abundant hope and energy towards positivity. Nothing anyone could say could get that little donkey down. He'd always hear negativity, spin it around, make it positive, and then get excited about the positivity. And I feel like, just like dogs in the real world, how they spread joy and abundance, I feel like we can do the same thing when we look at someone like Donkey and be like, okay, how can we not only not let the world get us down, but turn the world constantly around in different directions to actually serve us in a way that makes us happy. That's Donkey. No matter how angry Shrek got, Donkey was unfazed. Now, he could have been a bit more phased, and that would have made Shrek feel better, I'm sure. But actually, his abundant energy brought something pretty unique to the little group. And Shrek always acted like he didn't like it. But, rewind for a second. Did he really not like it? Because as an ogre, he didn't try that hard to get rid of the donkey. I think deep down, he just wanted to act like he didn't like it. And actually, every journey he went on, deep down, he kind of liked that Donkey was there. He preferred the situation of disliking everything Donkey did over the situation of being by himself. And that's quite wholesome. The painting's coming to life. Black Bunny, it will slowly. We're not forcing it, we're just slowly pulling it out. So depth first. Depth first, building in more tones, building in more hues, and we'll get there gradually. I love it when he's committed to his ideas, art versus technique. I feel like before the paintbrush hits the canvas, there's a huge amount of philosophy that needs to take place. One of the biggest causes of something like imposter syndrome is eventually you'll stand in front of a canvas like this, and you'll have your brush and you'll have your paints all ready and you'll be ready to go, and you'll ask yourself why. And in that moment, if you can't answer the why question, the painting will never happen in the first place. So think of the why like the engine room of any good car. The engine room of an engine of any good car, not the room. And I was just lucky that part of my studies involved art history and philosophy. And so when that crucial moment came, and I did question myself and ask myself, why am I doing this? I actually could come up with powerful, compelling reasons to be in front of a canvas right now. And that was an empowering moment for me. But if you're an artist or a creative, writer, singer, you stand in front of a microphone, you stand in front of a laptop, you stand in front of whatever it is you stand in front of, you'll experience that moment where you think, what am I even doing? Why am I even doing this? But like, not only does no one care, I don't even think I care anymore. What is this? And those thoughts are natural to creep in. This is the sane part of your brain asking you, why, like, justify this quickly for me, because this is madness. This is a 2D surface. You're splashing around color. There's already, like in this case here, there's already a photo of it. Why are you even painting it? Why are you even here doing this? Now, you need to be able to articulate yourself to yourself to say, no, I'm here doing this because on one hand, we're turning what is a mechanical photo into human expression. On another hand, there's something that photo doesn't quite have that we can find through paint. There's a vitality, a human element, an emotion, a viewpoint. Through these imperfect little mistakes that we capture it with, a very, very rudimentary, raw human element to get in the picture. And if you can actually say that to yourself and believe it, you'll suddenly be empowered. And if you don't do that, when you ask yourself that why, and you mentally try and push through it and tough it out and be like, oh, I'm just going to mind over matter, just start painting. And then 30 minutes in, a day in, a month in, a year in, 2 years in, 10 years in, you'll hit a wall. And when you hit that wall, you won't be able to pass it. It'll be insurmountable. And it wasn't because that wall suddenly hit. It was because you planted the seeds for that wall to exist long before that wall actually took hold and took control over you. Answer the why. And if you don't ask yourself a why right now, please, 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 now is the best time. Now is by far the best time to figure out the answer to your why before you're in existential crisis and needing that answer. Answer the big existential questions before you need to ask the big existential questions. And you'll be better off. You'll be so much better off when you hit that block, hit that wall, hit that breaking point, to really think you're going to muster the energy to then answer the questions that brought on the breaking point. No, you'll be broken. You'll be broken by then. You're in your weakest point by then. So I always say, get your toolbox of things together. Get your toolbox of tips and tricks and methods for saving yourself together long before you need saving. You don't hit a civil defense crisis and then start preparing for an earthquake, a tsunami, a flood. You prepare for those things and then you wait. Art's no different. Prepare for the crisis, prepare for the block, prepare for the existential dread that you may, that your best work may be behind you, that you're actually talentless, and that critic who wrote that mean article about you was right, that your friends think you should get a real job, that you're not sure if you're actually pursuing it the right way or in the right direction. All these thoughts will creep in. Prepare your answers for them inside your own mind to motivate yourself long before you ask yourself these combative questions. So that way, they don't halter you, they don't break you. You're prepared. You're prepared to have those hard conversations with yourself. So often we're actually taught through social media, through friendships, through the way we function, to avoid the hard conversations with ourselves. I'm not saying seek them out, but when they arrive, be ready to deal with them. It's an ocean. EM, it's not an ocean, but I like your attitude. You've been live for 40 minutes? Yeah, you'd be expecting me to get more painting done, but I think this has been an important yarn though. I think that was an important tangent to go on, not just for creatives, but for everyone. I struggled for a long time. That's a lot for 40 minutes. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. You know, sometimes we complete work in a 40-minute period. But this one here, it's a big, big landscape, gigantic landscape. And so we've only done 4 pigments. 4 pigments and now one. This is actually the same pigment. This is just a change with a bit of white. So 4 pigments, and we're going to put about 45 in it, I reckon, by the end of it. And so we just need to slowly grow through them all and take our time. Get that depth in the work. That's what we need more than anything, depth. There we go. A bit more of this colour. And coming up top here. So sky's not going to be blue, guys. Don't be ridiculous. I'm just putting blue in the sky to start with. And we're going to cover that up with a whole bunch of hues of Naples yellows, whites, magentas. And although it's blue right now, that colour will likely sit underneath. Because if I show you this picture here as well, white's the most potent colour. Blue's tucked up in the corner. Tucked up in the corner. Less relevant. Less relevant. Now, I'm going to use this to lighten it up a little bit. And I wonder, team, we're going to try a little experiment. How's our light like? Are we okay? Did that make it better or worse now that the sun's ticked up in the sky a bit more? There we go. Oh, sweet Caroline, bum, bum, bum. Good times never felt this good. And I will be fine. Bum, bum, ba, da da dee da 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 do. There we go. It's going to sneak in there. Lovely. Did that improve it, or did that make the light harder? Let me know. I was trying to improve things. Oh, where am I from? This is Kiwiland, New Zealand. Auckland, in fact. You're watching me here in the Auckland studio. The plan was to be outside in the great outdoors, enjoying a wilderness landscape, but the weather and the wind said no. So we're inside, which is kind of fun too because it makes the sound clearer. So although we missed out on the opportunity to be out in nature, we did get the opportunity for clearer sound, so I could really give you guys the lecture. What's your ratio of, jeepers Shane, probably about 1 to 100, 100 being painting. Guys, everything I do revolves around art. So typically, each person's different, but typically you need to find your craft, and the one way I found to say it was you need to find your craft sacred. And once it's sacred, you need to treat it like that. A sacred craft you find time for, and you do it in a certain kind of way. And one way I show the craft is sacred is I dress up when I paint. I put on nice clothes. I wear nice clothes because it shows the artwork that I'm making respect. It shows my self-respect. How can I make great art if I show up looking like trash? You never find a chef who goes into a kitchen and is wearing fat pants and a singlet cooking amazing pasta. It doesn't happen like that. They show up wearing uniform because they show up for action. In the same way you as an artist, you'd be saying, no, I'm fine. I don't mind sitting down in my sweatpants at a desk and slowly hustling away. Yeah, but understand that psychologically, you understand what you're wearing. This is a psychological phenomena that actually, if you put on a fireman's outfit, you're gonna feel more like a fireman. If you put on a so-and-so outfit, you'll feel more like a so-and-so, whatever that might be. Now, This is not an artist's outfit. This is just nice This is just nice clothing. Now, one thing that I need to do is I put on these nice clothes, so actually when I step in front of the canvas, I respect myself enough to say, in this moment here, this is a valuable moment and we may make something great right here, right now. But if I dress like I'm not ready for that moment, I may still find it, but I make that moment just a little bit harder to actually capture. Why put more barriers in front of you? Art's hard enough as it is. The internal battle and expression and emotion you need to transpose onto the canvas and this struggle you're going to go through, why do that and put more challenges in your way? Dress like what you're about to do matters. Go to a place where you have space to do what matters, whether it be outside or in the studio. Get into your environment. I don't know what does it for you. Does listen to the Moana soundtrack do it? How far I'll go? Do you need Disney? Do you need Make a Man Out of You? Do you need... I don't know. I like Hercules, the Hercules soundtrack, if I really want to get my buzz on. But that's clicking at me to get my buzz on, not at you guys, I swear. But know what does it for you and give yourself a chance to do something great. Stop putting extra roadblocks in your way. Jules, I'm so sorry. Yes, indeed. So this is called 700 Springs Ranch, and we are given the privilege today of capturing this beautiful, beautiful place. You know, a lot of commissions forms come through, guys, and every now and again I see one where I think, oh my God, I have to paint that. It was about 2 a.m. in the morning, and usually I do these things at a specific time of the day. And this one came through 2 a.m. in the morning, and I looked at the picture and I just saw it like, it came through as Nosh. His actual name was Josh. There's a little typo in there. And I said, Nosh, that is the most amazing photograph. Please, 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 please let me paint that. You came to me saying, please do this commission. Let me return that message by saying, please let me do this commission. This is just, you know, I'll show you the picture. Here we go. This is it. Voila. So I'll pan it. You can see the massive ranch. The thing I love about shots like this, my therapist said painting can be a coping mechanism, but mine doesn't look like this. It is. Painting's therapy. Anything that helps you express yourself and get how you feel inside your brain into the real world, even if it's not even legible in any way, will absolutely help you cope or exist in reality. That's what poetry does. You find the correct words to actually articulate what's happening inside your brain and how you feel about reality. And after you've written the poetry, it doesn't matter if anyone reads it. It makes you feel more whole. Art does the same thing. Why wouldn't it? Now, with this picture here, as I was saying, this is taken almost from a drone or an aerial photograph. It's up higher in the sky. Why that's fantastic? Most art throughout history is done on a flat plane. The artist was stationary, looking across. And so your viewing platform is the horizon line. You're just viewing directly across, and whatever's in front of you is what you get. But with this picture, we're about 100 meters in the air, looking down. And so although it's a landscape, and landscapes have been done all throughout history, this particular landscape won't look like any from the past 500 years because they didn't have drones and helicopters. So this angle of shot that we've got to capture this photo makes this picture not a completely unique work for that reason alone, but actually unique in terms of looking at art over periods of over hundreds of years. This one's actually something that you won't find in the 1800s. Sometimes you'll find an artist who went to a cliff top and looked down on a view, painted it from there. Yeah. Now I think Tos Williston, a New Zealand artist, did that a bunch of times. Yeah, but to actually go up into empty sky and take a picture looking down, nah, that wasn't a thing. That's only recently become a thing. So photos painted from or taken from drones and used to create art. I don't know if this one was taken from a drone. Could even be on a bank looking down at the property. Doesn't matter. but photos taken that actually look down on a vast expanse to create the landscape, that different viewing angle, they are a rarity when it comes to art. So that's something to be enjoyed. Not because they're better, it's just something else to acknowledge and think, there's a small little feature. Why doesn't this feel like other landscapes I've seen? Why doesn't this feel like other art that I've seen? Viewing angle, one little facet that makes the overall picture. Michael, I am the father of a gorgeous, gorgeous little baby girl. And I could not be more happy. She's an absolute little delight, and I cannot wait for rainbow unicorn parties. If I come onto these streams here and my nails are painted, know that I've been spending time with my daughter. And if I come on here with glitter, I haven't been out late. I've been spending time with my daughter. Let me just say that as a disclaimer now. That is years away though, that sort of stuff, but yes indeed, yes indeed. All right. So, although you might not be able to make out the environment that we're looking at right now, what you will see is a bit of depth coming in there. It's incomprehensible, weird depth, but depth is appearing. Now, the depth is so important because we need those rounded trees up each side of the banks, and we need that horizon line not to sit on top of it in front of everything, but fall back and create that distance, that expanse. So that's what we're playing to. And how's that going there? We've got that weird little cut of light happening again. I'll just pull that back across. How does that make us feel? We'll do that again. One more time. One more time. Do. La da dee da da dee da. La da dee do da dee day. Okay, let's get a bit frisky here. We've had some fun here. We've dabbled around with greens and blues. I'm going to get a really frisky colour. Now I'm going to splash in a bit of Naples yellow into the greens. And I wonder, we'll stick with the current photo, but I'm getting pretty close to swapping to a smaller brush and swapping to a coloured photo. We're still painting from black and white at the moment. That's important. So all the colours you see sprawled here are what we're seeing within grey. Plenty of time to use a coloured shot. This kind of work, to build this kind of depth into it, these take a bit of time. Landscapes don't just happen immediately. Portraits can happen fast. Gestural strokes that slowly come together to create an overall image. But with landscapes, no. You have to coax them gently. Bring out the subject matter gradually. Kind of like coaching a rabbit out of a burrow. Da-ba-dee-ba-da-be-da. La-da-dee-do-da-dee-day. So these are capturing that. For the first time, we started to add a bunch of light to a few of these little bouncy trees. And so we start to see the first signs, the first small signs of a 3D element occurring in these bouncy trees. But we're so far off conclusion, guys. So far off. So at this stage here, we don't need to stress ourselves out. We just need to enjoy the sensation of applying paint to a surface. If we ever stop enjoying that, the strokes will carry this weight, this ugly resentment, and the artwork will become flaccid from it. We don't want that. The artwork needs to be perky. And to get that perk inside the artwork, we need to transpose a perky attitude in every stroke that we do. A perky, free, fun element to every stroke. Without that, the work will be less. What strokes? Paint strokes. One stroke after the next. Lots and lots of paint strokes. Lots and lots. Still messy. I hope that as we add these strokes as well, guys, none of this painting's measured up. And I want things to be slightly incorrect. I don't want them to be perfect. They'll adjust themselves into the right place as time goes by. But at the start, I just need that wilderness in the painting. It's a good question. Okay, perky strokes question mark. What's the difference between a perky stroke and a flaccid stroke? All right, let's get a plate and demonstrate. I'm going to do 2 strokes on this plate, and then we're going to look at the difference between the 2 strokes. First off, a flaccid stroke. I'm lethargic, my posture changes, I'm holding my brush the correct way because I've been trained to hold it this way, and I apply my stroke. Okay. Perky stroke. I present myself to the artwork. I'm in the right position. I'm holding the brush, not because I've been told to hold it that way, but because I'm ready to paint. Here we go. Perky stroke. Now, here's the 2 strokes. They look really similar. In culmination, this top one here is the flaccid one, and the perky stroke, if I bring you up to it here, you can see by the texture on it. See how this flaccid one just sort of drags, feels slow. It sort of wavers a little bit. This one here has this beautiful flow to it, and it lifts with more texture. It's because as it's created, you can actually look at that and see there was a bounce of movement to it. There was energy in it. If you can look at the paint and know that it's been applied with vitality, bounce, and energy, that's what I call a perky stroke. If you look at the painting and it looks like it's been applied slowly, lethargically, from an artist who was sacrificing him or herself and broken and not enjoying it, but going through a grueling process because they should, you'll see that in the stroke. So we want the paint, we want every stroke of the paint to represent that fun, that joy. This is not an environment to be resented. This is an environment that needs to be caught with beauty, that needs to have energy, that needs to have vitality, bouncing through it. If this was a dead environment, it would feel wrong. In all these bright, vibrant colors, to paint a dead branch, it just sits wrong on the tongue. But actually, if in these vibrant, chaotic colors, we can capture that bouncy perk, the whole picture, though 2D, though frozen, though not moving, it'll sit stationary on a wall. It will have that life to it. Frozen strokes, making the whole thing feel like it's got movement. So perky strokes. You see how the brush is moving? How it wants to create these perky little movements within the piece? That's what we're after. And if you stand back from your work and it feels lethargic, don't keep charging forward. Stop. Stop, recalibrate, chuck some music on, rejig whatever you're doing to start putting that vitality and that perk into the work. Without it, the end result will be so much less. You need to construct that perk into it. Right, big brush going down. Next brush into the piece. We're going for the 1 minute left. What do you mean we got 1 minute left? I thought we had lots of time. We got 1 minute left. Why do we have 1 minute left? What happened? No. I'm not going to leave, guys. I think the live said just for an hour, but don't worry. We're going to stay around here and continue on. I don't know if we'll find time to continue on with the other work today, A Kiss Goodbye, but we'll definitely keep slamming on some more paint onto here. So if you want to hang out, keep hanging out. It's all good. And if you do need to dash, guys, it's totally all good. Dash, and I'll upload the replay onto different platforms. That's good. Actually, the replays go onto Twitter. There you go, Libra-san. So if you want to catch replays, Twitter's your answer. You've also got YouTube, Facebook, and I just started uploading them onto, I think, Rumble as well. Just everywhere, guys. You won't miss them. Probably you don't have to do anything, because now that you've actually connected with me here, it'll just throw you other platforms as suggested, being like, hey, I saw you were watching Seb's feed. Here, follow him here. I suspect that might be a little bit of what happens. It's a clever robot. There we go. There we go. You watch me on Instagram. You're a legend. Well, it's lovely to have you here on TikTok. And hey, Sally. Every single social is under Seb Gower Art. So whatever platform, it's all the same. Just Google Seb Gower Art and like scroll through it. It's entirely up to you. Or just don't even worry about that. Just hang out here. Let me paint for you for a little bit longer. And you might be like, actually, I don't like him that much anymore. And if that's the case, good. Now you don't follow me on multiple platforms, so I don't let you down. Here we go. Kidding. Kidding. There we go. There we are. So just little bits, highlights. We're starting to get those deep dark areas falling back, and we're starting to get those little vitalizing light areas coming forward. Cheers, Glynis. I appreciate that. And we've got people, invitations to go live together. I would love to, but I don't recognize your names. So it's a high risk thing. It's just get someone you've never met and let them leap on the live. You could say something mean. If you said something mean, jeepers. You don't want to offend anyone. Da-ba-dee-ba-ba-dee-da. There we go. Beautiful. That's what we're after. So you can see that little area back there. And in this area here, I'm going to mark out a few little spots on it, but don't get too excited. This is where our house is going to be. There's a tree that comes out in front there, another tree that comes up there, and then there's a couple of trees here. So this area here will soon, deeper into the future, be where the house resides. Oh, cheers, Georgina. I appreciate you. But again, like I was saying, mean comments, they're really important. They're really important. First off, it helps me develop a thicker skin. But actually, better still, mean comments help you as the viewer understand your position more. Don't just say a mean comment. Wonder to yourself, why don't I like this? What about this upsets me or doesn't really capture my imagination? If you ask yourself that question, you'll suddenly have a better chance of finding things in this world that you actually do like and pursuing those things. So don't just walk around disliking things. Walk around this world asking yourself why. And if you do that enough, you'll bring more of what you love into this world, simply by finding ways to associate with it more. I wouldn't deny you that opportunity. And if my art, through your dislike for it, what? What? Little puzzle piece thing, there we go. If my art, through your dislike for it, allows you to understand more of what you do like, then I've existed for a very, very valuable purpose. For you personally. And actually, I'll be honest guys, I follow a few artists on various platforms, and I don't really like their work. I love them as an artist, but I don't like their work. And you'd say, well, why do you follow them then? Because they give me such an interesting insight into myself. Because every time I see their stuff, I think it's great. I love them as an artist. I love what they're doing. I love their energy. I love their colors. Why don't I like their work? And the answer I land on to answer that question always helps me better understand myself. So that's why I keep those artists on. That's why I keep looking at their stuff. Understand yourself through what you love and understand yourself through what you don't love. Both of those are really, really helpful answers. Really helpful answers. At least I find anyway. You're making the painting look easy? Well, you don't know that yet. This might all turn into a disaster. But it may also turn into something really special. And if it becomes something really special, then that's fun. But look, I know it's a commission. I know we are going to make something special here. Whether it takes me hundreds of hours, whether I start new canvases, no matter what it takes, I will create something special for Nosh. But the most important thing is to understand that actually it's not about that finished result. If I get hung up on that, I'll never get it. But if I actually lose myself in the process, enjoy making it, do perky stroke after perky stroke, really embellish it and enjoy the process and allow it to actually be a fun moment for the artist, be a growing moment for me and actually get something out of this painting, that'll allow Josh, to have an altruist moment. And when I say altruist moment, I mean, as collectors, we don't want to have artwork in our home that we feel like the artist broke themselves over. We want to know art was a beautiful process. It was a loving process. That actually the whole, although it was hard and challenging at times and a battle, that it was a welcomed one, that was beautiful. And that beautiful process and that love that would come from the artist during the process, that is what we get a really good kick out of behind the scenes. It really speaks to us. We don't want to know that someone was in pain to create something beautiful. We like it less if that's the case. And so when I say the altruist element of art, make sure that you do your collectors the respect, and it is a respect element, the respect of making art that you really enjoyed making. Don't trick them into saying like, oh, I did really enjoy making this when really it broke you. Make art you love, so the whole process has love imbued through it. And if that's the case, when they hang it on their wall, they're inviting love and not tension into their home. They're inviting a passion and a joy into their home. And everyone's better off for it. Enan disagrees. You like the blue and green? And cheers, James, you're a legend. It's Aussie. Ooh, Georgina. This is a New Zealand accent. If you want to know the difference, think of Australians have a B sound in their throat. They sound more like this, and it's more nasally. And then New Zealanders sound more like a robot. So we have more of a monotone drool to our voice. Imagine like a non-stop rolling R is kind of a New Zealand accent. So if you're looking for the difference, usually Aussie accents are a little bit higher and New Zealand accents are a little bit deeper. And then if you're not listening carefully, a New Zealand accent just rolls into endless monotone. And you're like, what was he even saying? I just missed everything, but he was talking and I thought I was listening, but I don't remember anything. That's New Zealand accent. We'll do that to you. Whereas with an Aussie accent, you feel like you hear every word and you can re-articulate it. Because it has that higher pitch, because it has that more nasally diction to what you're saying. Think, I don't mean to put, no disrespect or shade from this, but when I say, think Chris Hemsworth in Thor, when he speaks, you can definitely articulate exactly what he says and understand it. But when a Kiwi talks, think of Flight of the Conchords. Easy to easy to forget what a Kiwi says. You feel like you're listening, but it's just one of those in one ear, out the other kind of situations. I'm not offended by it. It's okay. I sound like a robot. I'm happy for it. Wow, green. Oh, yes. Thanks, Alex. You're an absolute legend. Fish and chips. Yeah, I don't really have many fish and chips these days. I used to love fish and chips, but now I get acid reflux from all the cooking oil. So I'm 31 now, team. 31 years old, and with age comes a few little changes. I can't smash fish and chips up the yin yang like I used to. I need to tone certain things in my diet back. So sugary drinks, juice. I don't really drink any more juice these days. Just reflux, guys. Just not comfortable. And then what else do I like? I love soda water though. I used to hate it, but now I think it's a 30s thing. I love soda water. Just a nice glass of bubbled water. Kind of hits the spot. It's a bit weird. My name is Ivy. I aspire to become a professional artist. Can you give me some tips with blending? Tips with blending. Tips with blending, absolutely. Let's do it right here. Let's do it right now. And we're gonna do it with green, white, and Indian yellow. Woo, hello. There we go. Right. So, here's my plate. We're gonna start off with the green. We're gonna grab some white on the brush. I just mix it around till the whole brush is white all over it. And then, the way I typically do it is I'll throw it down thick for 2 lines, and now into the Indian yellow, which is the color I really want. I throw it down thick right beside it. Now, there's your 3 colors. They're not blended, but if I go cross-eyed enough, looks like an Irish flag, or further back enough, they'll look blended. So the question you should ask yourself is, why am I blending? What distance are people viewing my artwork from? And if you say they're viewing it from really close, cool. Then we can just sit right here, right now, and just brush backwards and forwards on that line until, bang, blended. So now our whites are blended into the yellows, and that green color is still sitting there all by itself. Thing is, what you're talking about there and really getting hung up on there is, can you teach me technique? Because I think it'll help me be a better artist. I would tread with caution on that. Technique is so important, but there's a million YouTube videos for it. A million YouTube videos for it. So what I would say is ask yourself deep down, do you need to learn this technique because you think it will progress your art? Or do you need to learn this technique because you've been sort of conditioned by the art world to think you're not going to be good enough until you can make perfect realism? Perfect realism is one form of art, but it is the biggest inhibitor on you capturing your real, authentic expression if you believe you have to do it to be yourself. Do realism. Do a couple of pictures of realism. It'll be good for you. Absolutely. But don't think you have to do it because that's what a Reddit group, or that's what a book, or that's what an art critic's opinion told you needed to do. Remember old Andy Warhol hardly ever picked up a pencil. He did silk screening. He duplicated works that already existed. And yet he's one of the most famous artists. Damien Hirst, love him to bits. But in his recent flower paintings, they weren't the best flowers out. It was splattered paint everywhere and there were flowers painted underneath. His technique of painting the flowers, I'm sure many people would have better technique, but they didn't have the same degree of vision. And in those pictures, it didn't really matter if the flowers were perfect photorealism. They just needed to exist under the big blotches of paint. So ask yourself why. Why do I need to have perfect gradients in the art? Personally, I don't use many gradients. My style's much more like Van Gogh's, where Van Gogh would use paint straight from the tube, and then I overlay it with different layers of transparency. So rather than actually blending a layer in sort of an opaque, flat way, I'll run another color over the top transparently, and they'll blend through the medium's technique of you being able to see through different layers, but they won't just cover it up and do a boring blend as such. I hate a boring blend. It's like, it feels condescending to the viewer to be like, and now this color graduates into this color, and that's all you'll see. I'll show them this is the colors underneath, and then with a slight bit of transparency, these are the colors I applied on top, and then with more transparency, these are the colors I finished off with. I find it's more respectful to the viewer who's looking at the artwork, because I'm saying that actually you have a right to see through all of this, and I won't put up illusions and cheap tricks to try and make the artwork look like what I want it to look like for you. I believe you have a right to see the artwork through all its layers and to understand it via the first stroke to the last. And I feel like there is this sort of gatekeeping on the viewer to be like, no, you will see what I demand you to see. No, I will do a process, and I will do it to the best of my ability. And that process will reveal as much of itself as it can to the viewer. And if it reveals everything it possibly can, maybe, just maybe, in the chaotic streams of paint thrown on the surface, you might feel the same thing that I felt when I looked at this picture or stood in this environment. And if I'm able to do that, then it's achieved it. But that comes from respect between the painter and viewer, not just because I think you should see a canyon, so I'll paint a perfect canyon with perfect gradients. And then when you marvel at my ability to do gradients, you'll then understand me as an artist. Ugh, yuck. Tell me when that ever happened, like once. Have you ever seen a trend painting your spouse on TikTok? I did see one of those actually. It looked kind of funny. Guys, there are so many trends, and I'm so sorry. I hardly involve myself with any of them, and I should do better and do more of them. I typically, a lot of what goes on here with this painting, it's a long-term community thing, and so I don't normally do trends as much as I do, guys. Being a part of this, you are part of a community. We're not, we do the occasional trends, but think of me almost, sounds bad to say it, but like blue denim. Like we're consistent. We're not going anywhere. But more importantly, regardless of what happens, I don't want to go changing. And I feel like with a lot of the trends, it doesn't feel like me. If a trend felt like me deeply enough, then I'd actually leap on board with it. But a lot of them feel like I'm trying to fit in to become someone. And that's a big red flag for me. I did that in high school, and it was bad for me. But now I just want to be me. So there we go. Voila. Voila. Voila, voila, voila. Da 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 da. La da da dee. La da da do. Li da da dee da. Da ba dee ba da dee day. We're going to swap on to our color picture now. We've had our fun with our black and white. This entire picture so far has been done off black and white. Voila. Now, we move from black and white to colores. So, let's get that one up there. Ba-ba-dee, ba-ba-dee-da. Da-ba-dee-ba-ba-dee-da. La-da-dee-da-da-dee-day. Wa-da-dee-da-da-dee-da. Guys, a little side tip. This stuff here is pink strapping tape. It's pink, so I like the color pink, but it's strapping tape. This stuff won't peel paint off the artwork, this regular D3 strapping tape. If you use regular tape, sometimes this stuff can actually pull paint off, like, and ruin the art, but actually, with this stuff, you could peg this anywhere on the art you wanted to. It won't be as sticky, it'll fall off more, but it will stick. Now I'm just putting it to the top, but I've got the stuff just in case I wanted to move it around the surface. Strapping tape. Not the strong stuff. Soft coloured strapping tape is the banger. Now, let me come up here. Hey AJ, welcome on in. Oh, Jules, see you later. Jules, your print should be on the way. You're probably getting notifications on it. It's probably already with you, actually. So, yeah, that's exciting. Anyway, Jules, look after yourself. I think we might do burnt sienna. I'm going to grab a little coffee and a bit of water, and then we will continue slashing around some paint tune. Slashing around in my car. Now, sorry for the bang. One of the cool things about this little studio is I have, you Americans won't know much about this, but in New Zealand we've got an Italian method called espresso. I love filter, don't get me wrong, I love filter, but espresso coffee is my muse. Here we go. There we are. Naughty technique, but I already grinded the beans earlier. I'm going to grab some water as well. Or, oh, dare I be so frisky. Let's grab some bubbled water. Here we go. Yum, 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 yum. I lied to you before. That was that was bad of me. This cup here, Shelby made this cup. I made this one. So she made the small one. I made the slightly bigger one. Her one's better, hands down. But I like my one too. Her one's definitely better. All right, let's sit down, take a step back for a moment and have a think about where we're going to go. Because we've made some fun little steps, but I feel like we've got more ground to make, team. Ba-da-dee-ba-ba-dee-da, la-da-dee-do-da-dee-day. How's that? That's golden. All right. Next colour off the ranks. Well, the thing that stands out to me more than anything, is burnt sienna crossed with a bit of white and a bit of yellow. What's burnt sienna? It's brown. It's just brown. Brown's great. Brown's great. Brown's good. Brown does a lot of things. Brown adds depth. Woo. Hello, burnt sienna. Here it is, Series 1. Here we go, a little bit of this. And then I want some raw sienna. You'll be like, why does he keep talking about sienna? Earthy colours underneath. Earthy colours underneath, slap. They build so much depth into the work. They complement greens in the same way reds sort of match with purples. Siennas, these burnt and these raw siennas, match with greens. They're different colours, and it's, guys, a colour wheel's only going to get you so far. We understand the colour wheel because it's like, oh, complementary colours, blah, blah. Well, you know what I think? When we talk about complementary colours, the worst combination in the world that I hate, that just doesn't seem to work for me, is when you match yellow with purple. Well, they're apparently complementary. I hate that combination. It looks dirty, like some sort of battery acid. I can't stand it. If you look through my work, very infrequently do I do large areas combining purple with yellow. It doesn't feel right. And if it is yellow, I'll manipulate it to be more like a Naples. Beside the point though, where I was going with that was to say, even though colour theory and the colour wheel tries to turn it into an exact science, there's things that make sense to us because of the way we were raised culturally or just through the world that we see in reality, like browns going with greens because brown tree, green leaves. We like that combination. It feels natural. Well, when you say not even sunsets, when would the yellow be beside the purple in a sunset? There'd be a graduation of colours. Purple would be purple would be somewhere between the blues and the reds. It wouldn't go from yellow to purple. It'd be a weird moment. And probably because we don't see that often, makes it feel less natural. It looks great in sci-fi things, yellow versus purple neon, but in general day-to-day life, not much yellow to purple. And red to purple looks wonderful, wonderful. Those deep sort of tones like that, and probably we like that combination, red to purple, because of sunsets, just like you're saying. So maybe, I'm just surmising, guys. This is all yarns as well. But browns go well with greens. Browns love greens. Greens love browns. They get along really well. Here we go. Right. Liquid sienna. Liquid sienna is going on the surface. Liquid sienna. There we go. I'm just going to sweep up in here. Don't do a million strokes where one brush stroke will say it as well, team. Just let that one brush stroke speak for itself. Continue those lines. Continue those lines. Let me just jump on here. Voila. Voili lo la di da. Voila lo la di da. There we go. We'll stand up shortly, team. Don't panic. We're just down lower here, and just to help me out. Just to help me out. Since it's technically lunch, this is our lunch break. But we're going to spend the lunch break painting. But I'll do it sitting down. Keep the energy up. How many degrees in your country? Well, you'd need to figure out how many universities first. And then how many students have gone through those universities in the past, probably 70 years. And then from there, how many of those students who went through those universities actually stayed in New Zealand, and how many people from overseas with degrees came into New Zealand. And eventually, probably just ask the census, to be honest, but it's probably a fair few people with degrees in New Zealand. I think a better question is how many people in New Zealand are using their degrees. I think you'll find a very small portion of New Zealanders actually use the degree they studied for. I'll tell you what though, one of the most helpful papers I ever did, and it helped with all walks of life that I went into, was philosophy. Seen as the biggest dropout, useless subject to be doing out of all of them, philosophy. My minor is philosophy. Actually turned out the most useful long term. The ability to rationally reason in a lot of situations became so powerful. But degrees, and the temperature degrees wise in the country, which I may assume you meant originally. The temperature is, well, today it's colder because it's blowing a gale outside, etc. But I think it's like, I don't know, guys, I'm useless with temperature. And then again, you've also got the issue of Fahrenheit to Celsius and all that sort of carry on. Can I just answer it with I don't know? Is that okay? Is that okay? You know, a wise man once told me, or I read somewhere, it's a very good saying. If you answer I don't know, it's probably in philosophy. If you answer I don't know over half the time, you're in the right place. If you have the answer to everything, you're either in the wrong circles or you don't know as much as you think you do. I don't know is a great reply. And our inability to say it usually comes from insecurity. But I love being able to sit in front of people I respect or I want to impress. And in those situations, to be able to say, I don't know, it's actually very empowering. And if they are smart, they may actually respect you more for knowing where your knowledge starts, and also where it stops. Arguably, that's more important than knowing where it starts. Knowing where your knowledge runs out when you go from being in an illuminated space to being in a dark room. That's important information. 59 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy in New Zealand. You Googled it. All right, 59 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy. Yeah, and in this particular part of Orewa, it is very windy. I was going to head out, guys. I was going to surprise you. It was going to be a big, monumental occasion. I was going to head out to a place called Piha. Beautiful scenery, big arching cliffs. But the one thing about Piha is that when it's windy, that place catches more wind than anywhere else. And so I would have been out in the elements. So much so that I don't believe a canvas this size would be held down by the peg that I use to hold down the canvas. So I had to make a judgment call and say, you know what? We'll stay inside today and we'll paint in the security here so we don't lose this painting. But we will absolutely be doing coats on this painting somewhere, whether it's Piha, but somewhere in the great outdoors, because that's what a landscape needs at some point in its journey, to be made outside. That really allows it to be embellished with what's that word? The French word for something you can't quite explain, a venage à trois. There's a certain venage à trois to actually getting outside with a landscape and allowing the world to actually have an impact on it, whether it be through wind and rain or whatever. Not affecting the archival properties of it, but certainly having an impact on the way in which you treat it. You treat it differently when you breathe the fresh air. You treat it differently when you are in an environment. There we go. Beautiful. I just want you to know that you're my favorite girl. La da bi ba da di da, o da di ba da di day, la da 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 da. Oh oh oh, oh oh. I wanna stay high all time to keep you off my mind. You know what she really needs in that song? A best friend. A best friend wouldn't let you stay high all the time. A best friend would take you out for a hike, go watch a movie with you, have a deep and meaningful conversation with you, and ultimately help you move on with your life. But I think she lacked a best friend. That's what that song indicates to me. And if you did meet her, the best thing you could do for her is invite her to a movie night. And really, not the kind of movie night where you like Netflix and chill. The kind of movie night where you actually just watch Lord of the Rings 1, 2, and 3 back to back to back. And when you do that, you can just relax, enjoy some cinema mastery. But what kind of canvas are you using? Whew, great question. What kind of canvas are we using? What kind of surface is being painted on? Great questions. Great questions. This is not a typical canvas. A typical canvas would be linen, cotton, stretched over a surface around a bar of probably pine most of the time, but like if it's going into a fancy museum or you're really doing expensive work, maybe cedar. But the limitations of canvas, when you touch the surface, it moves back. Now, if you want to have actual gestural, powerful brush strokes, the surface needs to stay strong. When you push into it, it needs to hold its ground against you. Now, I haven't seen this guy in 2 years. Oh well, welcome on in. So, you've got a couple of options if you want a strong surface. They used to paint on stone. That's too heavy. That won't get shipped and it'll probably break if it gets dropped, so it's risky. You've also got the option of, a lot of artists are using these days, aluminum or metal. So with the metal, that's great. It's a strong surface. If it does get hit hard, it bends. It can be hard to find those to the right size. Sometimes you can find them too small or too large. The other thing, which has been proven throughout history, which a lot of the old masters prefer over metal, because metal's unproven. We don't know how it will last for, several hundred years, is called masonite or oil-tempered hardboard. It's different from MDF. I did a reel on this ages ago, but it's different from MDF in that oil-tempered hardboard doesn't contain a bunch of PVA glue. So the glue will not last the test of time. MDF will suck in water, will warp, and will be ruined. So don't paint on MDF if you can help it. Oil-tempered hardboard looks like MDF, but it's much darker. It's like a raw sienna versus burnt sienna. It's very dark. Now, the darkness in it comes from the wood fibers are boiled and then compressed together. So there's not a glue that forms it. It's actually a pressing and a heat process. That's where the word tempered in it, oil-tempered hardboard, comes from. Now, there's an oil layer on one side of it that makes it really smooth, which is a linseed oil. It's about 1% linseed oil over one surface to smooth it off. You want to remove that. You don't want to be painting gesso and other acrylics onto linseed oil. So you'll buy the oil-tempered hardboard, you will give it a rub of rubbing alcohol and lightly sand it, and then you'll put your primer on top. And once you've done that, 3 coats of primer, you now have a surface which, by the standards of old masters over several hundreds of years, you've got what will last indefinitely. Sounds very complicated. Guys, it's boring, and I'm so sorry for hammering on about it, but that is my preference to paint on. The one catch you'll get is you have to frame it. You cannot not frame it, even if it's just a mild trim around the edges. Because of the way the board works, it's not like a canvas that wraps around, it's an exposed wooden board. Now, I have hung these unframed, and it has this very raw finish to it, which I love. But if you want it to actually have a beautiful, crisp finish, then you have to put a frame on it, which, if you're framing it anyway, no big deal. This will be framed. The frame that we're putting on this is completely undecided. But, hello birdie. If I was to surmise, pontificate what that frame might look like, I would say the frame for this one would be deep and wide to sort of add that volume to the picture, walnut frame. So because it's a ranch, because they come with that sort of ranch feeling, you wouldn't want to go for something, well, you could go for whatever you liked, but I like the idea of getting one of those sort of old school colors, the dark walnut, and combining it with a new school style piece of artwork and a new school style texture or finish on the frame. So you've got this element of modern, a nod to the modern in elements of it, but a return to the classic. You're doing a landscape. So you have this classic landscape feel, and you have this classic landscape color in the frame, and then you have these modern touch points. So that's definitely an option, But I don't even put too much thought into that whatsoever until we're in the final 2 or 3 layers and we actually know what sort of artwork we're dealing with, what it looks like, what it feels like. Until we know that, there's no point seriously pontificating. We'll just waste our time, use up our mental energy, get that creativity, target it at the surface, and create something worthy of a frame. Don't get so caught up in the finished product. Thinking of frames before the work's finished is such a catch up in the finished product that actually you risk never reaching it. So that would be a big red flag. Don't plan out the frame until the work's almost ready for it. That's what I would say about that. Right, next color. Next colores. What is the next color going to be to jump on this landscape? Let's chuck some red in there. Let's do that. Is there a waterfall in your painting? Jamie, bravo. There's not a waterfall, but there is a whole bunch of springs. So there's going to be like water springs. So there'll be a bunch of water springs in this. We have done a waterfall in the past, Bang Yok Waterfall, which was super fun. And part of the reason for doing that is a lot of people were asking me for a landscape of a waterfall. And so I chose what I felt was one of the most beautiful waterfalls that I'd seen. It's like a giant bunch of series of terraces cascading over. And then we did it in a very different style, not with long strokes, which would show movement, but in dotted kind of Monet picked out strokes, with the reasoning behind it actually, instead of showing the movement captured in a frozen moment, to forget all the movement and just capture these hues and tones within the picture, so that instead of getting an idea of facts in that area, you just got the feeling of a waterfall. Because so often with paintings of waterfalls, we try to capture the exact waterfall. And I'm like, well, what if we stopped worrying about exactly what a waterfall looks like and focused more on what a waterfall feels like? I know that sounds cheesy. And that's why Bang Yok Waterfall is kind of special. If you just search Waterfall Seb Gower Art, it should show up. The prints are out of stock. There's no Bang Yok Waterfall prints left. But you can have a look at the artwork itself, and I think you can get it in the form of a puzzle, which is which is incredibly difficult. Don't go for that puzzle unless you want a challenge. But Bang Yok Waterfall. I think I'm saying that right. Beautiful, beautiful place. Beautiful place. Ooh, child, things are gonna get easier. Ooh, child, things will be brighter. One day again. Do 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 do. Oh, misty eye of the mountain below, keep watching over my brother's soul. There we go, splash that around through there. Hello, how are we going? Getting a bit of depth, getting a bit of fun, getting a bit of life. We need more. We need more of all those things. I want to start going across into some of those blues as well. Thanks, Mimi. I appreciate that. I am, I promise. I promise I am. I promise I am. Or I promise I do my best to be. That's a better way to put it. I shouldn't be so presumptuous as to assume that I am. I promise I do my best. And at the end of the day, how much more can you ask of someone? I mean, someone giving their best is pretty good on a scale of 1 to 10. And I think actually, funnily enough, imagine this. Imagine someone doing their best versus someone who's doing half effort, but they're doing better. So if you're creating a sports team, or if you're looking for a relationship, would you go for the person who would give you the most, even though it was only half of what they could give? Or would you go for the person who would give you everything if it was everything they had? That's a really, really interesting question. And instinctively would all say, well, whatever gives us the most. But then think about it for a second and think, actually, isn't there more value romantically, connection-wise, or at least as a partnership, from the person who would literally try and give you everything as a teammate? It's past 11 a.m. When do you stop painting? Ooh, who knows? Who knows? I probably should have set the event for a little bit longer, eh? But we're making good ground here. So the thing is, you got to ask yourself, do you just stop out of the blue, or do you just keep making good ground? Paintings need to get finished, you know what I mean? And we've got a good little crowd here hanging out with us. We've How's that, team? Is that better or worse? It's hard to know. It's hard to know. Ooh, child, things are gonna get easier. Ooh, child, things will be brighter. Someday we're gonna put it together when we rock it on. Someday when the road is much brighter. How do I stop my greens and blues from blending into each other? Ugh. How do I stop this mechanical thing from happening? Right, depends what paint you're using. Different paints has different effects. For the answer of this question this time, I'm going to pretend that you're using acrylics. You may not be. If you're not, tell me what you are using and I'll give you the answer. But for acrylics, either do the layers on 2 different days. So the one of the colours has time to dry before the next one goes on top. If you don't want to wait days and you're impatient like me, then what you can do is you can add fast drying mediums into it, or at least just thicken the paint. You're probably finding your paint's too thin, and in that thin amount of paint that you are using, they're finding it too easy and the viscosities are blending too fast. Acrylics and watercolor, right? Watercolors are always going to be thin. They're always going to try and blend. That's going to be a natural byproduct of the medium. If you're using acrylics, you can combine in things like clear painting mediums, and with those, not just adding those in, but fast drying chemicals as well, you'll be able to make sure that in one session you can flick between color to color without having to worry about it turning into porridge. Now, I will say, no matter what you add into it, I feel like I'm taking questions on the radio here. No matter what you add into it, your work will eventually turn into porridge if you keep painting on it. So no matter how clever I think I am and what I'm going to add to the paint to do all sorts of clever tricks that can be done, eventually the work will tell me that it's had enough and it will need 24 hours to properly dry before I attack it again. So all the clever tricks in the book, sure, use them, have fun, whatever. Eventually, the clever tricks need to stop and time must be taken. And it's hard because sometimes you're on a creative journey and your mojo's clicking and all your strokes are landing, fun, frisky and perky, and you're like, nothing should stop what's happening here. And you need to stop. Or pull out another painting because it's just simply got too thick, too porridge-like. Ever Diddleson, you like the colour blue? Cheers, mate. Appreciate you. Now, let's get the colour blue in turquoise form and add it to this painting. Let's get the colour blue. Let's get the colour blue. I'm going to add a bit of turquoise through here, but actually the fundamental colour of this spring, this water, is going to be ultramarine blue, pumping out of it, ultramarine and cerulean. But for now, we'll let this little cheeky turquoise build up a layer underneath. We'll come back to it later to demand more of those colours out of it. There we go. And then a little bit up here in the sky. A little bit up here in the sky. Have you wondering why? There we go. This whole sky is going to slowly turn white over this other side there. But for now, I'm going to splash that up in there. Beautiful. And then a road. Ooh, before I do the road, there's some sneaky little bits of haze creeping across these mountain tops just through here. And it creeps down through here. There we go. There we go. Beautiful. And then that's going to sneak. Lovely. Lovely. Beautiful. Lovely, Lovely. Sorry guys, I didn't put the text back up big. There we go. And we are, thanks Van, I appreciate that. Van Goghing Places. Also, we are closing in on 20,000 likes. You absolute bunch of legends. We are 200 likes away. So if the audience all just push down their thumbs, we'll be there, which is pretty fun. But if you don't want to, totally all good. The fun thing about the likes button is that you don't have to do it. You can do whatever feels right just for you. It's kind of the fun thing about a live too. You don't need to actually be beholden to anything or do anything. You can pop in, hang out, disappear, come back. Really do social media on your own terms, which I find kind of fun. There we go. Spatter that across there, and there's a little bit more light coming through here. Beautiful. And again, like I say, there's this path that we need to etch in. Keep etching this path in. There we go. And we come down around these trees and down to the water's edge. Beautiful. And over here. Lovely. And this road again. Lovely. And this one here. Oh, beautiful. These trees. Dance me trees. All up through here. And then a little bit more. Keep dancing. Up through there. Beautiful. I just want you to know you're my favorite girl. Here we are. Bum. And then on this one here, yeah, nice. Nice, nice, baby. Double trouble, real trouble. Gonna follow you. Gonna capture Pikachu. There we go. Beautiful. And then right down the bottom here. Bear with me while I get this last little bit. Beautiful. Now, we've had some fun, but we need to get more darkness in there. We've gone from the darkness into the light. Now we need to go from the light back to the darkness. You see the picture above? Of course you do. That's what it's there for. In fact, let me show you one up close here. Voila. This is the beautiful ranch that we're painting. So this giant landscape, here's a colored one, is a beautiful 700 springs ranch. So massive amount of springs on this ranch. Massive place. Beautiful, beautiful water in the middle of it. Beautiful, beautiful greenery. So you can see as we're gently building up here, you'll start to see these two arcs heading off into the distance. Massive amounts of voluminous nature. And then you'll see a flat pat over here. This flat area with some roads on it. That sort of shows the some of the facts about the ranch, some of the areas that you'll be able to notice if you actually have been to the ranch. And then the key features, the unchangeable key features we must have and will not settle without them, is a house right there. There's the rancher's house. And so we're going to be putting that just over here. You can start to see, if you look really closely, in all the wilderness of this picture, and its chaotic colors going in all directions and things, there is the first sort of geometric shapes, unchanging. See? These little lines and cut lines down there. The first sign of actually some man-made object within this giant environment. The roads don't count because they're moving. So they look man-made, you know, cutting through the landscape, but that house has the first signs of geometry. Now, the next thing is here. Down coming from the house, you'll slowly start to see it build in a whole bunch of different tones, but there's going to be a footpath, a little track, a trail going from the house down over the bluff to the water's edge. That's another important feature. And then the body of water, but also the springs up the top here. There's lots of springs in this work, and so how we're going to make those stand out, it's easy to do. If I bring this up here, see how the water reflects that white? Huge amount of white in the sky. That reflective element of the springs is going to make them really stand out. We will fight for the springs a bit. We'll add a bunch of hues into that lighter color and really make them pop off the page, but we're not going to really need to, because those springs, being as light as they are on the tonal front, will just make them just leap off the page by themselves. So whatever we do will not act to make it possible, but only accentuate it. Right, that was a mouthful. Honestly, let's bring back ultramarine. Ultramarine seeped into those black areas a little bit, and to bring it back, might add a bit more power to that depth. Plus it'll combine nicely into the turquoise. You can play around with it. Our brush is already blue. There we go. We'll run that one out. Go on, burger. I hope that explanation was helpful too, guys. Ooh, there we go. Brilliant. There we are. And where was my little... there we go. Where is this place? Looks like my... Ooh, Brazil. It's not Brazil, though Brazil would be funky. If someone owns a ranch in Brazil and they want to have it painted, I would be all ears. This is Texas. It's a ranch in Texas, and we're capturing that ranch from a high viewing angle coming down. So I would think of this, it's going to sound weird to say it, but think of this less as a landscape painting and more as a portrait. We're personifying this ranch through paint. So the photo is a photo of the ranch. The painting of the photo is a portrait of the ranch. So what's really important in this is we don't just look at it and go, oh, tree, grass, water. We need to actually go shape, tone, shape, tone, hue. Add it in exactly as I see it. Just like I do with a face, where I don't lie about any of the nature. I paint the nature I really do see, because the thing about that, when it comes to a place that's special, a landscape of a location like this ranch, people have grown up here. I don't know, this tree over here, that may not just be a regular random tree that I can paint any way I want. That may be a place where a swing was under, where the owner of the ranch used to hang out and play and eat apples and read books and write poetry when he or she was younger. So I can't just do a random tree. It needs to be the same elements, the same moments, the same iconography, the same strokes, hues and tones as that tree in wild, chaotic paint. But nothing just surmised from my imagination, everything drawn from the inspiration of the photo. That is important. All right, rant closed. The reference photo is absolutely incredible. This is half developed by the beauty of the style, beauty of nature, and etc. But also half done by the actual potency, and beauty of the reference photo. Like, what a powerful, beautiful shot. One thing I haven't talked about yet is the impasto techniques we'll be using to build out the texture within this photo. Really allowing the work to catch the light differently at different parts of the day, as you definitely know this ranch does. So sometimes the day, different areas will capture light, different areas will fade, different areas will grow. We need to embellish that. And so the different colors with different matte elements, different satin elements, textures, etc. will help this work really come into its own. Right, coming down low here. I want to have a lot of texture on it. And hopefully this painting's existence ends up somewhere with a lot of natural light. That would be excellent. A lot of natural light, because if it gets that, then it will change over the course of the day. And you'll have the painting at one point, yes, but at every point of the day, during an afternoon cup of tea, during a reading of a book in the evening, during a morning coffee, it'll be ever so slightly different. Not a whole new work, but the same work in a different light. And that will be kind of beautiful. So that's what we're playing with here. That's what we're chasing. That's what we're after. There we go. Imagine now. Imagination. Come with me. That's the song. It's from Willy Wonka, I think. And you'll see a whole world of pure imagination. Bum, bum, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, 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 boom. Dun, 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 dun. There's those trees over here. Like I say, we need to capture them exactly as we see them. Beautiful. And then up this road. Lovely. Lovely. Thanks, Magical, and thanks, Oreo. Legends. Thanks so much, guys. It's in the wild stages, and that's part of the fun with these sort of works. As you might remember, the first layer just the other day on A Kiss Goodbye, the first layer on Oreo, done on that freshly cut grass in a New Zealand field. It starts off wild, it starts off chaotic, it starts off extreme, and then the detail gently builds in, gently comes in, but never enough to take away that wilderness, just enough that actually we can make out the character and enjoy the wilderness that can get created by paint. That's the goal. That is the goal. That's going to come up there, there we go. With me, and you'll see. Dun, 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 dun. There we go. There we are. Beautiful. Down with that one. How are we feeling? Let me stand back here and have a little look-see. Ooh-wee. Ba-dum, ba-dum, you know what? I'm going to do something extra naughty. I'm going to do something really, really crazy. Hello, oh, Oreo. Hello. Oreo, I sent your owner a message, your companion, your caregiver, a message. I saw your message come through on Instagram, fired one back. Basically, I had built your shipping container and I had it sitting there with shipping. And I'm like, guys, when it gets sorted, flick me the tracking number so I can fire it on to Oreo's caregiver. And they just sent it off, which is fantastic. It's on its way to you. So in the very near future, we are going to connect, and you, sir, are going to tell me how Oreo is going, how your life's going. If you feel the same way about it as I do, yeah, it'll be fun. We'll talk straight away when it arrives, and then also let's touch base in like 1 or 2 weeks afterwards, because after the period ticks by, as you sit with the work for longer, you'll notice new things. Your mind will change, it'll alter. You'll appreciate some colors and view it in a different light. That's the beauty of art when it's made with such a culmination of so many strokes. You actually don't get the whole picture immediately. It keeps giving you more Easter eggs as time goes by. And if you apply enough strokes, then it just keeps on giving, because by the time you've actually learned about new areas of it that you've fallen in love with, you'll forget about the old areas. So you'll constantly be learning things from it, because you can't possibly have the whole painting in your mind at one time. That is a cool aspect of this kind of art. Like, even right now, if I tried to memorize, I couldn't get every brushstroke into my mind. So although we're miles off finished with this artwork here, we've got maybe 10 pigments out of 45, we can keep looking at it and spotting little pockets and falling in love with little pockets without actually, while never getting to a stage of fully understanding it. Kind of like reading a book that by the time you reach the halfway mark or the end mark, the start of it's completely out of your brain, and all of a sudden it's a refreshing start to read through it again. So a painting is kind of like that, like a book that you can just keep reading backwards and forwards through. And that's why you'd want to put it on the wall in your house, because if it's just a pretty picture, in the instance you see it, and then it gives you nothing else, why would you want to put it on the wall of your house? You can see that in a gallery and get everything from that art in the moment you see it. But if it continues to give, then that's really different, because what you can do is, once it's on the wall of your house, every time you look at it, you'll glean more, learn more, love more, thus providing reason to owning a piece of artwork and not just viewing it in a gallery. And that's not your responsibility as a collector. It is to find that kind of art, but it's the responsibility of the creator to make art that's not just pretty upon one view, but actually provides the collector, the viewer, the whoever, with the ability to get long-term love, passion, connection out of the art. If it doesn't do that, it should just exist as an image in a gallery that you see once, then walk away from. And some art has that purpose, but art that should exist in a private home needs to constantly give. Enough on that rant. Now, what I was going to do next. It's kind of naughty. I told you it was going to be naughty, and it is naughty. Perfect. It will be delivered tomorrow. Yes, Oreo. Yes. This is fantastic. This is fantastic. I hope you've got a bit of space as well, Oreo, because one cool thing to do is to keep the box. It's a really, really good box, custom made for that work. So what you can do with it is just slide it under the bed. Even if you think, no, I know the spot where the painting's going, you never know. Maybe you're going to move house in a couple of years. And if you've got the completed box there, when it comes to moving house, rather than panicking about delicate items, you can just keep the box, lift the lid, put the artwork back in the box and move house, or pack it away if there's going to be, kids or babysitters there. Who knows? The box gives you that opportunity to actually look after it. Well, if you want to. Otherwise, throw the box away or put Lego in it. These are all great things to do with the box. But it's a nice box. I love those boxes. Now, the naughty, frisky, wild decision that we're doing here. Wild picture, really fun picture. Now, we're going to add some black to it. You miss art galleries. Well, there's a few art galleries still around, isn't there? A few art galleries here and there. Now, let me just get this here. Huh. Oh dear. It's interesting. Hoity-toity. Give me 1 second, team. I'm going to get this. My phone has just done the cheeky thing of running out of batteries. How dare it? Just going to plug it in briefly. Let it get some minimal charge in it. It does the time lapse while I paint. Cheers, RT. Look, I use these terms because if you were to describe wild brushstrokes and find the best words for it, cheeky, frisky, and perky are the best way to explain sort of devious, wild brushstrokes. You never ever want to have unless it's your particular style, but you never ever want to be defined by brushstrokes that would be worded as lethargic, exhaustive, grueling. These would be hurtful words to have your art described as. Maybe in the past we liked artwork that was quite stationary, but today in a world where we keep getting number and number and number, you know, we love to make ourselves numb, whether it be with alcohol, scrolling social media, or endlessly playing a game. In a world like that, to be able to actually feel and feel vitality, feel expression, like really get energized by something, that's a potent thing, and art's responsibility can be that. Not because it has to be, but if you have the ability to do that, now more than ever, in terms of the history of mankind, we need art that does that. We need art that vitalizes humanity. We need art that actually bolsters and boosts and actually, for even the briefest of moments, makes us not want to be numb. And if you can make art that even for a millisecond makes you not want to be numbed and not feel or not to engage with reality, if you can make art that brings you back to the beauty of reality, that brings you back to actually the wonders of all the empirical senses we have to enjoy this crazy, wild world we find ourselves in, then make art for that purpose. Please. The world needs you to do that. The world needs that now more than anything. I think the biggest tragedy of this world would be the point in which we all stop feeling for each other, the point in which we all actually stop caring and connecting. Music, poetry, dance, and art are the remedy to such an awful disease that actually threatens to spread. I avoided art, dance, poetry, and all these sort of things for a long time. And I was less for it. It broke me. It made me less of a man. I disjointed myself from my feelings, and I followed a path which I thought was better for me. More numb, more what other people told me I should like. And the result of it, just a numb lack of feeling, to be honest. Just a nothing. But to come back to expression, to come back to feeling, to come back to an actual vibe. To feel something worthy of sharing with other humans. That is a powerful thing. Be it through poetry, be it through writing, be it through business, be it through building, electrical work, be it through writing scripts for movies, be it through cooking, sharing food. I was talking to a friend the other day who was telling me his passion was cooking, and his friends love his cooking. They'd leave his house with baking all the time. And I love that. I love that. I love it when I ask someone, what's your passion? And there's a moment of, I don't want to say insecurity, but there's a moment of pause. Like, well, my thing is, what makes you pause and feel shy about sharing? That may not be your life passion, but is a thing that gives you that little bit of a zing that embellishes your own humanity. That is something worthy of pursuit. Even if it's as simple as collecting Marmite jars. Marmite's a type of spread here in New Zealand. What I'm trying to say is, even if it's something very, very simple, it deserves your attention. And hopefully, by doing it, you spread a bit of love and allow someone else to do theirs, whatever their passion might be. There we go. There's a bit of a bluff coming down here. There we go. That's gonna. There's these trees. A bit more of this. Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-ba-da-ba-dum, boo-doo-dee. There we go. Right, let me just get that phone picked back up. What's my battery looking like? 7%. Okay, that'll work. We're coming to a close here, guys. So we've got 7% battery left on this iPhone. We're going to plug it back on, tilt it into the right position. Oh, sorry, guys, if I moved you around a bit much. There we go. There we go. All right. And slash the final little bits of paint onto the surface, just with the blacks. Just with the blacks. There we go. That goes through there. That goes through there. And then down in here. Perfect. Beautiful. I said that was going to be it. Maybe I'll grab just a little bit of red. Such a liar. Always another colour. One last colour, team. One last colour. Let's put that down over there. Put that down over there. One last plate. Maybe if it's too late. Should I go back and try and graduate? Well, let me know. Oh God, I am every memory of looking at the back door. Oh, what was that? And I was bedroom door. It's time to say it, time to say it. Goodbye, goodbye. Vermilion, Naples yellow, and quinidone. If that's the right term. It's not the right term, but that's okay. Okay, there we go. Up we go. Okay. Limited time. I wonder if it's too late. Should I go back and try and graduate? I know what I'll do, team. Hold your horses. I've got just the solution to our little problem. Just over here. Oh, this is what I'm after. Perfecto. Now I plug this into here. And then, oh, so clever. Extension cord for the phone, guys. So it can actually, beautiful. Now we're on less of a time scale. We've got longer. But these are the last final three colours, team. Before we come back, and have another crack after it's dried. With more wild, chaotic hues. Ooh. Every memory of looking at the back door. Got a photo of him sitting in a bedroom door. It's time to say it, time to say it. Goodbye, goodbye. There we go. I wonder if it's too late. Should I go back and try and graduate? If I was then, I won't let me in. No, whoa, whoa. Oh God, I am. Sorry, guys. I got a Nickelback song stuck in my head. I don't know why Nickelback gets such a hard time. There we go. I want to become an artist like that when I grow up. Oh, Oreo, that's a legendary thing to say. But you don't need to become an artist like this. You'll have your own unique style. Some sort of way that you love to express yourself through paint. And that's what you want to try and go for, to embellish, to find. You can take this style, obviously, and use it to further your own style, but don't copy it. I think it was Picasso who said, good artists copy, but great artists steal. So I encourage you to steal this style. Steal the element of the style that you love and use it to further your own style. Steal the best bits. Steal the bits that make your heart flutter. And then go off and make something that would make the past you proud. Do something right now that would make the future you proud. It's a powerful thing to do. Oh, yeah, I am. There we go. Thanks, Kloiber. Hello from Atlanta, Vic. Welcome on in. And cheers, I appreciate that. It's good to have you here. We've gone from the darkness to the light, and then now we're sort of progressing back to the darkness and leaving ourselves ready for the next session where we can start embellishing those lighter kaleidoscope of hues in the sort of medium gray zone. But right now, I just want thick darkness to cascade over the work. Not with just black though, with these other hues like this red tone that I'm adding into it now. And the next one is going to be Naples yellow. Here we go. All right. There's 100 of us still hanging out here, persevering with where this artwork goes for the next few minutes. They're like, is he gonna finish it? And he's like, oh, he ain't gonna finish it. This is a light color though. I'm just gonna use this to splash around the coastline. There we go, the coastline. Splash around the water's edge. Beautiful. And you can start to see this kaleidoscope that I was talking about starting to take form. The multitude of hues. See, this doesn't come from a single layer. This doesn't come from blending. This comes from multiple layers cascading over the top of each other, one after another, slowly building up to create a feeling. We can create a photo or an environment from a single layer. Of course we can. But you can't get a feeling. You need multiple cascading layers of paint, one after another, to slowly come together and create. Beautiful. Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-ba-da-ba-dum, ba-da-da-da-boo. There we go. Keep splashing that around through there. Beautiful. And then down in here. A little bit that comes up there. We're not finished. We can get a little bit down. Yeah, now we're talking. All right, soon we're gonna play our game. My favorite little game. How long does it actually take to finish a piece of artwork? Oreo, great question. So, it can take anywhere between 5 and 20 hours, but look, I don't know how perfectly the strokes will land. Absolutely, it'll take at least 4 layers. At least 4 layers, because that gets that depth. But then every layer after the 4th that we add on to the painting is because maybe the strokes in the previous layer didn't land as perfectly to capture what we're after. So I say 5 to 20 hours because each layer is about just over an hour, and then we might need 5 to 20 layers is our trajectory. At the moment though, I mean, I like to try and pontificate with landscapes, but honestly, I really don't know. I really don't know. I would be surmising though around, pin me down for 12 hours, I reckon. I might go there and ask to study with you. You'd be welcome. But the best place to be though, rather than going to the effort of jumping into my environment and studying with me, has been on here, been on the live stream. Now that more of a schedule is starting to develop, use it to your advantage. And you can either have the sound on and paint your own subject matter along with me, or sound off and just have me in the background and pretend like you're painting in the room with another artist. And you can spend your time actually listen to your own music. And just in a small way, feeling like there's another artist in the room. That's really potent. Whatever you have to do, though, in your creative process to not feel alone, I don't buy into that whole, the best art's created in isolation, when you lock yourself in a space. No, I think that's when your art ran into something psychological, something within you, something that felt like you could only do beautiful things when no one else was looking because you'd been taught to feel ashamed or humiliated by who you were. But actually, if you loved who you were, or if you felt that others would love it, you would do it out in the open and you would be unashamed by what you could produce. But I used to paint in basements, I used to paint in darkness, I used to paint alone. And it took a mental toll on me, and I was wondering, why do I do this to myself? Well, because the art's better, because it's true art, because it's art that, you know, will be meaningful, blah, 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 blah. The list goes on and on and on. Your psychological brain can justify why you do something in isolation, or why you'd want to be alone in a million different ways. What it can't do is actually give yourself the hard love of saying, no, I actually shouldn't be ashamed of who I am. I shouldn't be afraid to show who I am. And if I put myself out there, there may be someone who I actually improve the day of and actually show something beautiful too. And if you can say that to yourself and actually put yourself out there and show your art to the world and share your process, even though it's terrifying to do so, terrifying. You're actually exposing yourself to the world. If you can do that, you'd be surprised. Because if someone showed you that, you'd be reciprocated. You'd reciprocate the love. Yet we feel like if we put ourselves out there like that, we wouldn't. I don't know, guys. I don't think anything's achieved in isolation. I don't think anything's achieved in basements. I don't think anything's achieved quietly in the middle of nowhere. I think beauty really comes from connection, and if art's made with connection and with love, the end result is a million times better. Every single time. Without fail. Righty-tighty. Are we going to add just a little bit more? I think we'll let that dry, team. I think we'll let that dry. That's been a ball of fun. Right, guys. I am going to, let me just have a look at it from your perspective. Yeah, let's do a little bit of a fun test. I love this test. There's our landscape. I'm going to put the picture over the top of it. You ready? Bear with me. Okay, there's our picture. It's quite dark. I'm gonna put it right there, and then lower it down. So we can see layer 1 into what it's become. Voila, there we are. There, wait, perfect, and down. That's what we've got. I hope that helped. So you won't see the picture perfectly there, guys. Cheers, Brian. I'll choose a painting, please. That's fair enough. Now, the picture's a beautiful thing, but what will happen is that we are trying to capture something in this picture that maybe the picture doesn't have as much of or isn't in there. So we're embellishing it with life and color. There's a lot of dark areas in this. We're replacing those dark areas with additional colors. We're really blowing up this location. We're accentuating some areas, and hopefully we get a very, very lively, beautiful landscape by the end of it. This is layer 1. There's going to be about 5 layers. That's 5 pigments, maybe 9 pigments now. We need 45 pigments. So there's little areas like if you look at the body of water, that's hardly been touched, because the pigments that we did use are more for the nature and not really through the water. We added a bit, but not a whole lot. So pretty fun, pretty fun. I love these mountains at the back too, how they sort of like roll across the landscape. Fun space to be in. All right, guys. Now, do you find inspiration from Van Gogh? Rainer, I get this a lot. People on the beach come up to me, all over the show, come up to me and say, where does your inspiration come from? Are you inspired by the French Impressionists? Do you love the postmodern era? What do you think of the Rene? Honestly, and I don't mean to be mean, Rainer, who cares? Yes, Van Gogh's inspiring. He's the GOAT. We love his art because when you look at it, you can feel the way it was made. And although you don't get a sermon out of it, in that brief moment, you can think, oh, that's nice. And for the whole world to have that same moment, amazing art. But to whittle down your own human experience to, I'm inspired by a singular French Impressionist, I'm inspired by the Dada movement or the Bauhaus movement in Germany post-World War II. Nah, don't do that to yourself. Enjoy art. Figure out your why, not from an inspiration that comes from an art movement, but figure out your why in terms of who you are as a person. Do you really believe there's something valuable in throwing paint on a 2D surface and splashing it around? Why? I think that's valuable because I think this world lacks human expression now. I think we're so used to a duplicated and replicated world of a million things that aren't unique, and to actually feel something and feel connection with something, a product or an image, to have it on your wall there and feel like it's unique and feel an emotional connection to it, that's rare today. So that's why I paint. And I feel like through this wild, crazy process, it is the anti-numbness. And this world is getting too numb. There are too many white walls. There are too many geometric, formulated, perfect systems that we fall into with everything we do. And this work says no. This work says we're human. This work says we're wild. This work says we're raw. This work says that on a deep, fundamental level, we're rudimentary and primal. And it tries to embrace that. And so when you see life and vigor and vitality in the work, that came because I said no more white walls, no more systems, no more perfection. Let's get loose, chaotic, and let's make mistakes. And the result we get from that is the exact same way as we experience reality. A million tiny little strokes, all incorrect, every single one of them. But in culmination, from a distance, they're beautiful, which is exactly how life feels sometimes. Everything feels wrong, everything feels confused. But your nose is probably too close to the art, and actually when you step back, there's the picture. That's what we're doing here. So, to go back to the point of inspiration, the last thing there, a lot of the time, creators will take themselves away from the art because they don't feel the inspiration. Usually, they're avoiding their own why. Now, what I would say is it takes motivation to get in front of a piece of artwork or to create something. That's a motivation. But then once you're doing it, you'll find inspiration. Inspiration usually comes from the actual doing. So Forget about trying to find your giant epiphany when you're not doing art. Expect that epiphany to come while you're doing art. Why would it come anywhere else? Find out there in the world, out there in the beauty, out there in the things people can give you. Use those things to find motivation. Get in front of your canvas, and then as you're in front of your canvas, get inspired. That's my own little crazy way of doing it. You might have your own. I totally get it. And oh, thanks. Cretans with love. Thanks, Cretans with love. I appreciate that. Guys, it's been a big session. We've done some amazing work here. This has way more to go on it. We've had some great people in the room. Rainer, you're a legend. Thanks for coming in. Hedy, absolute champion. Good to have you here. Francisco and Brian. Cheers, guys. You're all a pack of legends, and I will see you in no time. You'll see this as a full replay if you want to flick through the different layers and see how it sort of came together in the first layer, and as a reel. I'll get the little clips and edit them together with some funky 80s music, because that's fun and I like to do that. Cheers, guys. Cheers, Jay Smith. Catch you later, team. Perfect timing too, 4% battery. Ooh, got close there.